10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To 1926. Happy New Year. Now listen, everyone. Please. I've been a very fortunate man, especially to have friends like all of you. And not many people went to Australia and bought a farm over a copper seam.
I have, at long last, persuaded Andrew to make a will, with my wife Sarah's help. In it, there are several minor bequests to some of us and a small trust fund for Violet's education. The main part of the estate, 75%, goes to the Ellingfort Medical Foundation.
Oh, how splendid.
Dr. Pritchard, of which you're chairman.
It'll be used wisely, Andrew. If you ever die, that is.
A lump sum of £2,000 held in trust until their 18th birthdays will be shared between Peter Baker and Robert Sidaway.
Oh, that's so kind of you, Andrew.
I think you know how fond I am of your son. And there'll be men soon with all the responsibility that entails. And I'd like them to have a secure future.
What about Violet?
What about Violet?
Well, she is your ward, Andrew. You dote on her, but you've left her nothing.
Sarah, shh.
Yes, but she'll marry someone like Robert or Peter. She's a woman, for heaven's sake.
My God, Andrew. You had to stop yourself saying only a woman.
The motion before us is, this House believes that women can never be accorded equal status with men. I call upon Mr. Andrew Marsh, a former president of the Union, to propose the motion.
President, gentlemen, few people, if any here today, would deny their fellow human beings, regardless of color, creed, or gender, the fundamental right of respect.
Monsieur Poirot, it's lovely to see you again, but we did say 7 o'clock.
My dear Mademoiselle Violet, you must forgive me. You must blame the 2-inch nail who punctured us at Bulldog. I'd like you to meet my associate, Captain Hastings.
How do you do?
Captain Hastings, this is Mademoiselle Violet Wilson, Andrew's ward. Thank you.
But society, like the family, is not merely a collection of individuals haphazardly thrown together. In order to function industrially, politically, socially, both must be structured, divided into those who make decisions, those who put them into practice, those who lead, those who follow.
This is Miss Campion, the principal of my college.
We really should hurry. The debate's underway, and Andrew's already speaking.
Such designations are status and are determined by a woman. Her name is Mother Nature.
Gentlemen, I now call upon Mr. Robert Sidaway to oppose the motion.
Mr. President, The debate so far has ignored some rather unpleasant developments taking place in the real world. A few months ago, two leaders of immense status, but with very little respect for anything, Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini, overran neighboring countries. Now, all people of good sense, regardless of gender, can see that war right across Europe is imminent. And when it comes, will we expect women to merely keep the home fires burning, Mr. President? Yes. Or will we accord them equal status as we ask them to go onto the land and farm it? Into the factories and make munitions. Join the armed forces and fight.
Into the Valley of Death rode the 500 members of the Women's
If you'll let us work and die for our country, why won't you let us join the union? Or, God forbid, let us speak in a debate.
I will not allow interruptions from the gallery. If it persists, I shall have it clear.
Perhaps you're frightened we'll start talking sense. Never mind the outcome, Bobby. You spoke well.
So did Andrew, once you ignored what he actually said. Congratulations, sir. A worthy victory.
Pity the press won't cover the debate, Robert. I can see tomorrow's headlines now. New woman heckles hecklers at Cambridge Union. Poirot, how are you?
Andrew, my dear friend, I missed your speech. Please forgive me.
Oh, but you've heard the gist of it many times before. Starting back as far as the Cavendish Clinic.
Oh, mon Dieu. In such adversity are born the lasting friendships, n'est-ce pas? We were there, Hastings, for the mutual pulling of the wisdom teeth, huh? It was not a pretty sight.
Damn doctor of mine never offers me anything for this wheezing.
Perhaps because you tell him it does not bother you.
Blasty man can see it does, surely.
Uncle Andrew's had a wonky heart for years. It leaves him short of breath, though not of voice.
This room is a place most industrious. Do you not agree, Hastings?
Certainly is.
I run a magazine, monsieur, called New Prospects. I'm hoping to expand it once I graduate.
Merci.
Do you have any money?
Oh, Violet.
If you won't invest, Uncle Andrew, I understand that. But somebody will.
Have you tried one of the banks, Mademoiselle Violet?
Were I a man, they would give me a loan tomorrow.
Well, I told you the reason for that. Women in business are just begging to be taken advantage of. Right, Hastings?
Can't say I really know any women. Oh, in business, that is.
Point proved. Motion carried. 3 against 1, eh, Poirot?
No, mon ami. 2 against 2.
Look, I know you've booked into an hotel, Poirot, but why don't you join us for a few days at Crabtree? Come over tomorrow for lunch.
We should be delighted. You will permit me, Mademoiselle Campion.
Thank you.
You like for your students to have the views of the very strong, n'est-ce pas?
I positively encourage it, Mr. Poirot.
John, before I forget, our meeting tomorrow, could we make it a little later?
Why don't we meet for lunch? My office at 12:30.
Affects you, Martin. I'm afraid I'm changing my will.
It's your money, Andrew.
Is Violet to be mentioned in your new will, sir?
Setting aside your impertinence, Robert, I could have sworn the debate was over. Perhaps you feel I didn't win it convincingly.
I'm sure he meant no harm, Andrew.
You don't merely encourage the young Philader, you overindulge them. I apologize, sir.
Robert?
I'll talk to him, Mrs. Sidaway.
Robert!
Sarah, will you please not fuss?
Robert! Robert, wait!
I'm sorry, Violet. just because he won a stupid debate doesn't make his attitude right.
Look, he is what he is, Bobby. And we'll never change him. And I'm not sure that I want to.
You did tell your dad to leave a sack of seed potatoes up by your front drive, right?
Yeah, thanks for the lift.
Andrew, it's been marvellous, but I've quite an afternoon ahead of me.
Look, I'm sorry I was rough on Bobby. I'll straighten things out with him later.
Before I go, Andrew, I'd like to give you the once-over.
Oh, good God, man. Fuss, fuss, fuss.
You've had a couple of strenuous days. Now, jacket off and sleeves up. Mrs. Sidaway, would you be so kind as to bring my stethoscope through to the library? My bag's in the hall.
Afternoon, Mrs. Sidaway.
Peter, what are you doing?
Fortnight's leave, then we're off to Palestine. There's no one at the cottage, and Dad's on duty. I don't suppose Mother's...
Yes, your mother's in the kitchen. Why don't you go and find her?
Mother!
Entrez. Oh, mon ami. The good doctor, he tells you to get some rest and you ignore his advice. You do not change.
Oh, I've changed all right, Poirot. You'll think me an old hypocrite, I'm afraid. Saying one thing, doing another.
I should not dream of such a thing, mon ami. Please to sit.
Even though, after all the things I've said about my health over the years, never taking anyone's advice, well... my specialist tells me oh, damn it, I'm not afraid of it. I'm just afraid of upsetting others.
He tells you that your life draws to its close? Diable.
You know, 10 years ago, I made a will.
I have, at long last, persuaded Andrew to make a will.
In it, I left several small bequests.
In it?
£250 to my lawyer, John Sidaway, and his wife, Sarah.
To Miss Campion?
Philida Campion received £500, which she immediately pledged to her college for improvements. My housekeeper, Margaret Baker, and her husband, Walter, the local police sergeant, were already provided for by an earlier endowment. Their son, Peter Baker, and young Robert Sidaway were left £1,000 each to give them a start in life.
Ellen Fort.
But I left the bulk of my fortune to Dr. Pritchard, as chairman of the Ellen Fort Medical Foundation.
If you ever die, that is.
There was some consternation that night that I had excluded Violet from my will. But tomorrow I'm going to put that right. I intend to write a new will, leaving everything to Violet. Truth is, I've been so proud of her achievements at Cambridge over the past 3 years. She deserves it. I'd like you to be executor of that will, Poirot. Say it for me.
But of course. Why this urgency?
Who the hell is that at this time of night? Look, we'll talk more tomorrow.
Oui, bien sûr.
Good night.
Bonne nuit, cher ami.
Hello? What, now? Couldn't this have waited?
Morning, Poirot.
Good morning, Hastings. Bonjour, mademoiselle.
What do you think of Samson?
I think that he is large and you should take care, Hastings.
We'll join you for breakfast, Monsieur Poirot.
What a charming folly.
Andrew restored it about 15 years ago. Comes here to think. Race your back. Come on.
Wait a minute, Violet. Andrew? Violet, go back to the house and get Sergeant Baker. And Poirot, too.
Sergeant Baker, you permit that I make a search?
My men have done that, sir. Found nothing.
Perhaps a post-mortem will tell us more.
There's no call for a post-mortem. I've examined the body. Andrew died about 8 hours ago. I'll give you the death certificate.
Heart failure?
What's wrong with that?
It says nothing. I've yet to see a corpse whose heart still beats.
Poirot, the leading heart specialist in London would tell you that Andrew...
His illness and I were well acquainted, Monsieur le Docteur.
It's a bit odd to be walking around here in the middle of the night, though, don't you think?
He often had a late stroll, Captain. Helped him to sleep.
There you are, Walter.
Last night, Andrew tells me he was to make a new will. midnight, he gets a telephone call. This morning, he is dead. No, this is no coincidence, Hastings. We must make the search. And Hastings, leave not a rock unturned.
As you know, Monsieur Poirot, it's not usual to read a will before the funeral. But in this case, I've made an exception, hoping to dispel your fears concerning Andrew's death.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps we should be seated.
It wasn't a complicated will, Mr. Poirot. We were all present at the witnessing 10 years ago now.
The will, Monsieur Sedouet?
Doesn't appear to be here.
Don't be absurd, dear. It must be.
That'll be there somewhere, sir. Just a matter of finding it.
Mesdames et messieurs, Andrew Marsh was a good friend to all of us here in this room, and yet it seems that you wish his death to pass unquestioned.
Not all of us, Mr. Poirot.
And now we have the disappearing will, and still you do nothing, Sergeant.
With respect, Poirot, I think you're reading too much into it.
Indeed. The new will that Andrew Marsh intended to write would have left everything to Mademoiselle Violet, with Poirot as executor. Very well, I will execute. But beware, mes amis, for in so doing, with or without your help, I will unravel the mystery of his death. It's intolerable, Hastings. We are dealing with a close-knit community where the business of each is known to all, except to Poirot. Yet.
Just a second, Poirot. That missing will could be a godsend. It'll mean Andrew died intestate.
Thank you for that note of optimism, Hastings.
But all you have to do is tell the probate court that Andrew wanted Violet to have everything.
And you think that they will accept that? The wishes of Andrew Marsh, told to me in confidence, without any witnesses?
I see.
Poirot, I wonder if I might have a word.
Santé.
Good health. I want you to know that I am the major beneficiary of Andrew's missing will, as chairman of the Ellenford Foundation, in case you get the wrong end of the stick.
I have no stick by either end, Monsieur le Docteur.
Yes, but you might reasonably think that 75% of the Marsh estate is worth killing for. And Andrew was going to make a new will, he said.
But you would not have stolen the old will, since it favored you?
Andrew told you he wanted Violet to have everything, you said. Did he mention nobody else?
No. Why is it that you ask?
Because for a long time now, I've believed that Andrew had a son.
Belief, Monsieur le Docteur, is good, but it is not good enough.
Andrew, John, and myself, we met at Crabtree one night. Must have been 2 years ago now. Sarah was away, and Robert had just been accepted at Cambridge. His father was full of it, bursting with pride.
To Robert.
To Robert. To Robert.
Robert.
Thank you. Very happy for you, John. Oh, forgive me, both of you. I rattle on as if you fellows had sons to be proud of as well.
What makes you think I don't understand your pride perfectly? You may be my solicitor, John, but you don't know everything about me. Does he, Maggie?
Andrew Marsh was always very fond of Margaret Baker. Maybe Peter is Andrew's son.
I see. Doctor, I thank you. I have been stumbling around in the darkened room, and now you have switched on the light. You see how things go, Hastings? I believe that he was killed for his fortune, but the question still remains. Who would lay claim to it once he had died?
Well, there's that son that Pritchard talks about. But then we only have his word that he exists.
We find the son, mon ami. We also find the murderer. Soon we may have the word of Madame Margaret Baker.
You can't ask a woman a question like that, Poirot.
Not only can I, Hastings, I must.
Met him in Australia, sir. Hired me as nanny to Violet, his business partner's child. When he came to England, he gave me the chance to come too.
Which is where you met your husband, the bobby of the village. Madame Baker, I truly wish to cause you no offense, but Monsieur Andrew Marsh, he admired you greatly, n'est-ce pas?
Oh, yes.
And you were also very fond of him?
Yes.
And perhaps it would be true to say that you did not work for him as the nanny to Mademoiselle Violet so much as to share in his life.
Dad, I want to hear this. You're saying I might have a claim to his fortune, aren't you, Mr. Poirot?
Be quiet.
Dad, you always said Andrew had an eye for the ladies.
Yes, well, in my case, he admired from afar. After we came back from Australia, Mr. Andrew was sent to fight in France. You were conceived while he was away. By the time Andrew got leave, Peter was 3 months old.
So you worked as the nanny to Mademoiselle Violet while Monsieur Andrew, he was absent?
Yes. Well, his other friends pulled their weight, of course. But Miss Campion's not much good with small children. Nor Mrs. Sidaway come to that, in spite of being a children's nurse.
Ah. Thank you, madame.
You've got some gall to go casting aspersions like that, Poirot.
I have the gall, Sergeant Baker, because a man has been murdered and you refuse to investigate. Very well. The time has now come for me to go above your head. Thank you for coming, Chief Inspector. You have met Sergeant Baker, I see.
Yes, I must say, Poirot, that in spite of your comments, he seems like a reliable chap to me.
This way, Chief Inspector. Monsieur Marsh was discovered here, Chief Inspector.
No marks on the body? Nothing out of the ordinary found?
Rien.
What's this, then, if it isn't out of the ordinary?
C'est incroyable.
Looks like a medicine bottle to me.
I myself searched this area, but meticulously.
Must have missed it, Poirot. Any of the local quacks reported one of these missing?
No, sir. Sorry, sir. We'll get onto it right away. I'll ask Dr. Pritchard.
Pritchard?
He's the chairman of the Ellenford Medical Foundation. Dr. Martin Pritchard.
Listen, Poirot, don't tell people I'm in the neighborhood yet. I shall need to see the coroner's officer. I want a post-mortem. I want to know what was in this.
Miss Campion, could you spare us a few moments?
I am rather pressed for time, Robert.
Please, Phillida.
It's about my mother, Miss Campion. About me. About my father, too, I suppose.
2 years at King's and you still don't make any sense, my dear boy. Like so many before you.
You won't laugh when you know the reason, Phillida. Robert needs your advice.
I think Andrew Marsh was my father, Miss Campion.
And you're asking me what you should do about it? Why didn't you ask Mr. Poirot?
But Robert, why didn't you mention this before today?
My mother only told me about it last night. Took some guts on her part.
It doesn't seem to have upset you unduly, Robert.
Well, after some thought, what difference does it make?
Eh bien, Monsieur Robert, I will tell you the difference. In the will that is missing, you inherit a small fortune. If you can prove you are his son, you will inherit a vast one.
And now a son by Sarah Sidaway. We find the son, we find the murderer, you said.
Yes, indeed, Hastings. But it would be unseemly to unmask him the day before the funeral of Andrew Marsh.
Man had a lot of friends, Poirot.
What good are many friends, mon ami, when you have one bad enemy?
Dr. Pritchard?
You look to be in the rudest of health, Chief Inspector.
You have met before?
Would you care to fill these gentlemen in, sir, or shall I? Very well, then. We met in London 15 years ago. Dr. Pritchard here was running a so-called humanitarian group, helping the terminally ill to kill themselves.
To end their suffering, you mean?
We investigated his organization, but couldn't prove anything. At a rough guess, I'd say he's up to his old tricks again.
No.
Yours, Doctor, according to the manufacturer. They send them out with batches of insulin, all numbered so they can keep tabs on them. Because as well as working miracles, insulin can also be lethal.
I don't understand.
The post-mortem found needle marks in Mr. Marsh's upper arm. Martin Arthur Pritchard, I'm arresting you for the murder of Andrew Marsh. You're not obliged to say anything, but anything you do say will be taken down and used in evidence. All things come to he who waits, Poirot. I knew I'd get him sooner or later. Just because the solution to a crime is simple, Poirot, doesn't mean to say it's wrong. Pritchard killed Andrew Marsh. End of story.
But why would he steal a will that favored him? No, Chief Inspector. Still, it has not been found, nor, I believe, will it ever be. Did you question other suspects? Did Sergeant Baker?
Of course we didn't, because there weren't any.
Robert Sidaway and Violet Wilson. Monsieur Poirot is expecting us.
What about that telephone call, Chief Inspector? The one that Andrew received at gone midnight.
Pritchard, of course. Honestly, you two, when you're backed into
Miss
a corner...
Wilson and Mr. Sidaway.
Monsieur Poirot, we thought you should be the first to know. We're going to America. Robert's going to forego his last year at King's, and there's a berth on the Queen Mary leaving on Tuesday.
Mademoiselle Violet, Monsieur Robert, please to sit. Eh bien, mademoiselle, what of the end of term? What of the graduation ceremony of Mademoiselle Campion?
Why the sudden rush, Miss Wilson?
What is there to stay for? Women are treated as equals in America. I can forge myself a decent career. And a man I've known all my life is charged, quite insanely, with my guardian's murder.
Mademoiselle Violet, your late guardian would not have wanted you to miss the graduation ceremony. Now, I beg of you, before you finally make up your mind, to give Poirot a little more time. Please.
It's all very well you saying probate's a lengthy business, John. But Robert and Violet are planning to leave the country. Do you want that?
No, of course I don't.
Is it that difficult to prove you're someone's heir? I mean, what does it involve?
Surprisingly little. You swear an oath that you are who you say you are.
Don't you need a birth certificate or something?
No?
Would you apologize to Sarah for me? She's invited me to dinner on Saturday, but I'm going to London.
I'll tell Sarah. Theatre? Concert?
No. To see Hercule Poirot, as a matter of fact. I need his advice on something.
Whoever pushed Mademoiselle Campion down the moving stairs, it was not Dr. Pritchard. He is in your custody.
Yes, well, we don't know that anyone pushed her yet.
But he is not the murderer, Chief Inspector. The murderer is still at large.
Well, we obviously got her here pretty quickly. At least we know she survived.
Inez?
Please. I shall need to speak to Miss Campion as soon as possible.
Well, you can't. She's concussed. Very nasty fall, gentlemen. Legs broken in 2 places.
She will recover soon.
I think you'll find Mrs. Campion's made of pretty strong stuff.
She's a miss, Doctor. Miss Campion. You called her Mrs.
You know her well?
Well...
No, but we know she's not married.
Tell me, Doctor, did you call her Mrs. out of habit or a slip of the tongue?
Look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak out of turn, but...
If there's something you know, Doctor, it's your duty to tell us.
Miss Campion has had a baby at some time in her life. By caesarean section, no less.
Miss Lemon, I have a task for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end of the academic year is something I would never miss. Although this time it was a close-run thing. As you know, this is always an informal occasion, because while the university here at Cambridge acknowledges the hard work of its male students, it doesn't yet see fit to hold a degree ceremony for women. So I hold my own.
Bravo!
And as you take your places in society, I hope that 3 years here will have proved you more than worthy of them.
Thank you, Hastings. A smile of triumph, Miss Lemon?
Of course.
As I am. Mesdames et messieurs, to begin, I think it is fitting that we should make a toast to our dear late friend, Monsieur Andrew Marsh.
Andrew Marsh.
Today would have given him much pleasure, n'est-ce pas? And how proud he would have been of you, Mademoiselle Violet. However, there is someone in this room who denied to him this pleasure.
You mean his murderer's here? One of us?
On the night that he died, Monsieur Andrew Marsh asked me to be the executor of a new will he would make. I believe that he was killed for that fortune, and that the old will was stolen and destroyed so that he would die intestate. So my duty, you see, it has been twofold. First, to find the murderer, and then before this ruthless murderer could lay claim to it, to deliver his estate to Mademoiselle Violet according to his wishes. However, this murderer, he was at work even as my dear friend Andrew told to me his news most tragic.
My specialist tells me oh, damn it, I'm not afraid of it. I'm just afraid of upsetting others. What the hell is that at this time of night? Hello? What? Now?
And thus the murderer lured him from the house.
Couldn't this have waited?
To rendezvous with the folly. here, our murderer administered a massive and fatal dose of insulin in a cowardly attack upon a man who was sick and weakened. Et voilà. But then along comes Poirot, who says that this death is not a death that is natural. Oh no. It is a murder. So fearing for their own safety, the murderer pointed the finger toward Dr. Martin Pritchard by placing at the scene of the crime the file containing the insulin. Chief Inspector Japp arrives to help me with the investigation. He examines the folly and he finds it there. Why was that file not found the day of the murder by Sergeant Baker, huh? Because it was not there. No? Poirot himself searched the area, and Poirot never misses. So, my good friend, the Chief Inspector Japp, promptly arrests Dr. Martin Pritchard. And with a man who is innocent charged for the murder, the real killer could now lay claim to the Marsh fortune. So it was thought, without suspicion. But Dr. Martin Pritchard had already told to my associate, Captain Hastings, and myself, that Andrew had a son. Peter, perhaps?
That doesn't mean say I'd kill him for it.
Or you, Robert. Now, your claim had to it more substance, n'est-ce pas? Because you believed that Andrew Marsh and your mother were lovers.
Robert was with me the night of Andrew's death, Monsieur Poirot.
Violet, don't. Was the arm that pushed Mademoiselle Campion down the moving stairs yours, Peter? Yours, Robert? Were you afraid of what she might say to me?
Theatre? Concert?
No. To see Hercule Poirot, as a matter of fact.
And of course, the killer certainly knew of the visit to London of Mademoiselle Campion to see Poirot. Because Mademoiselle Campion had discovered in a conversation with the lawyer John Sidaway that for a child to claim the estate of the father, the real identity of the mother need not to be revealed. But events took such a turn that did reveal a secret that she herself had kept for more than, 20 years?
What Mr. Poirot means is that the doctor who treated me saw that I'd had a baby. When I was a student here.
It was but a short step for my secretary, Miss Lemon, to discover the name of that baby. Please to read it, Miss Lemon.
Born on the 17th of July, 1913, to Miss Phillida Campion, a daughter whose name was Violet.
What's going on? What on earth is happening?
Was it necessary to pry into Phillida's past, Poirot? It's Andrew we're interested in.
Yes, indeed. But during all this time, not once did we ask ourselves this question. Is this son that we seek perhaps a daughter?
So Violet is Andrew Marsh's daughter?
Yes.
So, Monsieur Robert, why did you kill the father to Mademoiselle Violet?
I didn't.
I say you did, Monsieur! Why? You know that she loves you. You know that she wants you to go to America with her. Why then?
He's just told you he didn't!
No, madame. Perhaps, Robert, he is not the murderer. Because, just as we thought the heir of Andrew had to be a man, so too did we think of the murderer. This killer was someone who stole a syringe from the bag belonging to Dr. Pritchard, who knew the power of insulin. And you, I was told, had been a children's nurse, Madame Sidaway. It was you who convinced Robert that he was the son of Andrew. It was Robert who told you of the visit of Mademoiselle Campion to London, where you followed her, where you pushed her down the moving stairs. Because you were afraid that at last she would reveal Mademoiselle Violet as the rightful heir.
No.
John, help me.
There's nothing I can do, Sarah.
How did you know about Violet?
I had a friend who worked in the clinic. I met her years later. There was so little we had to give Robert.
But he was mentioned in the will, madame. Why did you steal and destroy it?
Because I wanted him to have everything! Why should it all go to Violet?
Because Andrew Marsh wished it. As proof that she was his daughter. And his equal.
I think you'd better come along with me, Mrs. Sidaway.
Mademoiselle Campion, Mademoiselle Violet. Your magazine could not have a name that is better, huh? The New Prospects. For these are very exciting for you both, are they not?
They certainly are. And I'm going to use the inheritance to start my own publishing company. And you, Monsieur Poirot, shall be my first subscriber.
Thank you, mademoiselle. You know, the companies, they have a chairman, huh? But in this instance, why not a chairwoman? You already have the chair, I see.
Not for much longer. Plaster comes off a week today.
And what of Robert?
I think I can persuade him to finish his degree.
That is good. Alors, au revoir, mesdemoiselles. Et bonne chance.
Thank you, Monsieur Poirot.